today my topic is structure of cell. So firstly, in order to know about the structure of cell, firstly we need to know what is a cell. Now, what is a cell? It is the fundamental unit of life, okay? Or you can say the fundamental basis of life, without which life will not exist on the earth. Okay? Second point, it is a self-replicating structure. That means it can replicate by its own. It is capable of replicating by its own. First cells were observed, or you can also say discovered, by Robert Hooke in the year 1665 from the slice of cork. Okay, so from the slice of cork for the first time, Robert Hooke was the one who discovered the cell, the structure called cell. Okay, now there are some organisms on Earth, the living organisms. Mainly they can be classified into two types. One is unicellular organisms and the other multicellular organisms. Now, what is the main difference? Unicellular organisms will basically consist of only one cell in their entire body, while multicellular organisms are human beings like us, where in the body, like we all know, in our body many cells are there, so we are multicellular. Okay, and usually the diameter of a cell, different cells are of different size, different shape, they have different functions. So if we want to know about the range of the cell size, then the range is between 2 to 120 micrometer, as you can see in the slide. Now moving on to cell theory. What is cell theory? Cell theory was proposed in the year 1839, so a long time ago. It was proposed mainly by Matthew Snedden and Theodore Schwann. Okay, so these were the two main scientists who proposed the cell theory. So one is Matthew Snedden and the other one is Theodore Schwann. Now, what are the important points concerned with the cell theory? First is, number one point is, all living things are made up of cells. Okay, so any living being, any living organism on the surface of this earth will be made up of cells. Okay, it can be one cell, it can be many cells. If one cell, then it will be unicellular. If many cells, then it will be multicellular. Okay. Secondly, cells are the smallest working unit of all living things. So this is also very important. That is why they are known as the fundamental unit or the fundamental basis of life. Why? Because they are the smallest working unit of all living beings. Okay. Another one is, all cells come from pre-existing cells through cell division. This is another very important point of cell theory. That is, each and every cell is coming from some pre-existing cell. That is a cell which is already there, which is already existing. So from that cell, another cell or the next cell is coming. Okay, because cells are self-replicating, that we have already seen in the previous slide. So all cells are coming from the pre-existing cells through a method which is known as cell division. Okay? Now moving forward, what are the constituents of a cell? Okay, constituents means what are the components. Okay, or a cell is made up of what components or what materials. Okay, to say different substances that make a cell is collectively known as protoplasm. So you must have come across the term protoplasm. It basically it refers to all the constituents of a cell, all the various substances or various compounds which are present inside the cell. Together they are referred to as protoplasm. Okay, usually we say that cytoplasm and nucleus together form the protoplasm. Okay, so protoplasm is equal to cytoplasm plus nucleus. Okay? Nucleus, we all know what is nucleus, and beside the nucleus, everything else that is present in the cell, or you can say everything else that contributes to the protoplasm, is known as the cytoplasm. Okay, and in the cytoplasm is basically the matrix of the cell, and in the cytoplasm various things are present, various there usually we call them as cell organelles. Okay, we will study in details about the cell organelles. So protoplasm is basically the collective term to refer to all the different substances that make up a cell. Okay. Uh, Now, what is the protoplasm composed of? See, number one is water. Okay, 70 to 80% water is present in the cell. I hope you must know that in our body, we say that our body is made up of 70% water. water is obviously a very important constituent. Okay, it is required by each and every living organisms to sustain. So even in our cells, 70 to 80% is water only. Okay, what are the things that are there? Carbohydrates are there, lipids are there, proteins are there. Okay, these are the main nutrients which we derive from our food, isn't it? Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, these are the main components of our food also. Okay, and besides this, electrolytes are also present. Electrolyte means the cations and anions. Okay, the charged particles. Okay, so electrolytes, like we have sodium, we have potassium, we have magnesium, we have calcium, then phosphate, chloride, bicarbonate. These are very important electrolytes. And what is the main function of electrolytes? They help in maintenance of pH. Okay, that is the main function of electrolytes. They help in maintaining the pH of your uh, our body system. Okay, now coming on to the subcellular structures. Now subcellular structures means mainly the cytoplasm and the cell organelles, as I said, because in the cytoplasm mainly the cell organelles are present. Okay, also obviously the nucleus. The nucleus is also a very important structure that is present inside the cell. Okay, obviously the cell membrane. So these three things will make up the the major structures or major subcellular structures, you can say. Okay, so firstly the cell membrane. The cell membrane will also be known as the plasma membrane. Secondly, we have the cytoplasm and the cell organelles, as I mentioned. And thirdly, we have the nucleus. Okay, so moving forward, firstly we need to learn about the cell membrane. Now the cell membrane it can also be referred as the plasma membrane. What is it? It is basically a thin, pliable, elastic outermost structure which envelops the cell. Okay, so basically membrane, as we can understand by the term membrane, means it is covering or it is enveloping the cell from the outside. Okay, so basically it's protecting the cell so that anything and everything cannot enter inside the cell, and also vice versa, anything and everything cannot go outside the cell also. Okay, so it is basically a very elastic and pliable. The word pliable means flexible. Okay, elasticity and flexible, they are almost similar terms. So this membrane, it is the outermost structure of the cell, which is elastic and flexible in nature. Now, what is the main feature? It consists of bilipid layer. Okay, now what is bilipid layer? Bilipid layer means two layers of lipid. The word bi means two. Okay, so this cell membrane, the most important feature or characteristic of the cell membrane is that it consists of a bilipid layer. So two layers of lipid is there. Fat, we all know, with embedded proteins. Okay, embedded proteins means these proteins are embedded inside this bilipid layer. They are present within this bilipid layer. Okay, so that's why embedded. Okay, these embedded proteins can in turn be of again it can be of two types. One is integral proteins, another one is peripheral proteins. So as we can understand from the term itself, integral means something which is present inside, which is present within, and peripheral means something which is present outside, or the layer of the cell wall. Okay, so first is a bilipid layer, second is embedded proteins, which can again be of two types. One is the integral proteins and another one is the peripheral proteins.